name is Hannah Porter Occeña, and I am interviewing Julien Monick. So, Julien, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your musical background and what you're up to right now?
Sure. I started off with playing piano lessons when I was younger and eventually horn in middle school. But for composition, I played a lot of video games when I was in middle school, but the internet was not quite as proliferated. So I started to transcribe a lot of the music from those games by ear. And then when I started making additions to those through improvising, that's when I really started to compose. Eventually, I went through sort of a jazz program in my high school years, and in college, I really like sort of to formalize my like composition writing. Um, as to what I'm up to right now, uh, navigating through difficult times, of course, I'm just trying to keep myself positive and as productive as possible, and giving myself a bit of lenience to just kind of float and stay okay and sane. Um, but I have a few events coming up. I have premiere with the Cincinnati Symphony in January that I'm quite excited for. It's part of their youth concert series. And I'm
Fantastic.
working with a group, two groups of friends of mine. One of them is the Cincinnati Composers Collective. I'm working on a piano piece that's giving me a lot of leeway for fun, and as well as some solo pieces with another group called New Downbeat.
Wonderful. That's really cool. Congratulations on the Cincinnati Symphony thing. That's amazing.
Thanks. It was great to work with them.
Yeah. So can you tell us about your inspiration for it? So it's Kikako.
Yeah, I guess I would pronounce it Kikako, but it
Kika.
doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. So can you tell us about your inspiration for Kikako?
Sure. It was part of another project that I had done with the Cincinnati Composers Collective. Um, we were wanting to release a solo album for flute and clarinet, so the incentive was there to for me to write for flute. I was really attracted to the flute. It has like a really diverse range of character expression, and I love playing with character and music. So I chose the flute, and I had never written a solo piece before, and I had never written a solo piece for flute before. So I did a lot of research in advance, and I came across a few pieces that really resonated with me. I think one of them was by a composer I love, Toru Takamitsu. He wrote a piece called Toward the Sea and Air. One of them is for flute and guitar, the other one is for solo flute. And as well as a previous teachers of mine, Michael Fide, he had two pieces which I absolutely love, 5 haiku and 9 haiku. So that started getting my brain rolling. Um, and then I would be remiss if I didn't mention um, I wanted to capture some technical knowledge of the flute. Will Offerman's website for the contemporary flutist was just an invaluable resource. And I think a lot of the inspiration I got for understanding how the flute can really express such a wide variety of characteristics really came from that.
So I actually did a significant part of my doctoral research on Takamitsu's solo flute pieces.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. My big focus was voice. The first, which was the first of his solo flute pieces, which is a theatrical piece for solo flute, where you're talking and you're screaming and shouting and playing the flute at the same time.
that sounds fantastically fun. I'll have to listen
Yeah,
to that.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, those three pieces. So voice was first, and then itinerant was from his garden period, and then air was his last completed composition. So yeah, I love those pieces. They're very near and dear to me. So it's really cool that those are inspirations for you as well. So, on the subject of inspirations, who has most inspired you as a composer?
Ooh, that's tough. It always changes, and usually, I think the way I listen to music is I'll try to expose myself to as much as possible just to get myself away from my comfort zone. But when I find someone who I click with, I listen to almost everything that they've written. I try to get to know them. Takamitsu is actually one of them. I love his lyricism, his music, especially his orchestral and chamber music tends to like just float around, and it's like these really broad shapes of phrases. So he was definitely a resonance for me. Um, But I think one composer, like I said, I loved growing up with video game music. One composer who I really go back to, his name is Richard Vreeland. He actually goes by the name of Disaster Piece is his artist name. But I love his sense of melodicism, and he uses mostly like Logic native instruments, and he really understands the program. Is able to draw out a lot of like a timbral palette that I adore. It's very warm, very vibrant. Um, I suppose Large influenced me as well, more towards, I guess, the classical realm, if you want to call it. Andrew Norman, wonderfully imaginative, uh, really, I think, takes shape and gesture to a level that I appreciate. And his notation is flawless. If I've ever had an example of how to express how to want something that is outside the realm, I'd go to him. So he's just a great technical consultant. Same with Crumb. And then Christopher Stark and Caroline Shaw, both of them are also doing things that excite me and make me excited to keep moving forward, because and I've had the glorious chance of being able to meet both of them, and they're both wonderfully kind and genuine, and that is something I deeply appreciate as well. Very professional.
What do you like and what do you find challenging about writing for flute?
Well, the part that I like, I said a little bit before, it is like really diverse in its character, and it's also incredibly flexible with how it can jump back and forth between those different characters. Um, it's lower register with like the amount of breath and air that comes with it. I love the combination of that range, and it was something I think that pairs quite well with the voice, and I've heard a lot of composers play with that. Um, as for challenges, I, none comes to mind. I guess managing breath and where you want breath to be placed within a phrase, and tailoring your breath to sound natural within the music was probably the biggest challenge. I can't exhaust the player to not be able to, or struggle with a phrase, so I couldn't go on forever. So finding natural pauses in the music kind of came to be the biggest challenge, I think.
Have you written anything else for flute specifically?
I actually just part of the project I'm doing with New Downbeat. I wrote a short 2-minute miniature called Hibiscus that will be posted soon. Solo piece.
Wonderful. Is there anything else that I haven't asked that you can think of that would be interesting for our fan base to know?
About me, no. I just would like to emphasize that I'd like you to find what you love in music and really bring that to the forefront of your focus. I think finding enjoyment is probably the supreme goal that we could have as artists, especially through times like this.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Julien, for speaking with me today, and I look forward to playing more of your music in the near future.
Of course, it was a pleasure to meet you.